TR, what's your favorite scary movie?
In the year 2000, in the post-Scream slasher-filled cinema-scape, one movie came along that would do for airplane travel what Jaws did for fishing. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to Uncensored Horror. And this week, we are going to review Final Destination because 2 weeks ago, my lovely co-hosts, it was the 25th anniversary of the release of this film.
We're old.
Ouch.
We are old.
Ouch.
Yeah.
That hurt. Now, I
Old
distinctly
as hell.
remember going to see this movie. I distinctly remember seeing this movie in the cinema. It left quite an impact for someone that was already had a bit of an issue with flying, but it definitely, yeah. Ooh.
Look, my child knows that we're doing this review tonight because it's, while we're filming, it's a time when she's around, and she wants to now watch the movie. And I'm like, I don't think you need to watch that movie. And she's like, I really want to see this movie. I'm like, no. I'm like, it's not just about the plane crash, sweetie. There's a lot of other stuff that's happening outside of the plane crash.
Mm-hmm.
So we're trying to, disassociate if we can.
Yeah, no, that's all right. So you saw this you would have seen this in the cinemas as well, Luke, because we were.
I did.
of age.
I did. I think I was, Like how
We
how
were-
long ago was it now? 25 years. I was
25
17.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I went and saw it. It was an MA15 movie, so I thought it was wonderful to go along. I think I went with my one of my best friends, his girlfriend, and a couple other friends, and it really haunted us because we're not stable.
Katie, you were a slightly younger vintage. When did you first see this?
Oh, I probably saw it when it came out in theaters because, I was the horror fan of my friends and I had to see it. And then, oddly enough, the night before I went to Europe, my friend goes, let's watch a movie. And she put on this one.
Yeah, no. It always creeps up on you, this movie, doesn't it? Because every now and then you'll be like, that's right. Like when I was flying to France, I was like, oh no.
Yeah, and I was going to France.
No.
Yeah, so it was good.
If the flight was going to be 180, it was going to be all over. I was like, oh god,
Right.
I'm going to do the full.
Katie,
freak out.
did you ever think to get on the nugget couch and reenact anything from Final Destination?
I have to tell you, and I know this is going to break your heart, but I sold the nugget.
Oh,
See?
that's
The
terrible.
nugget catch.
So
Oh,
you
so
never
God.
got to reenact a plane crash on the nugget.
I'm not sure how I would do that.
Could make it into a plane because it, you can make
It's
shapes.
so versatile. It's so versatile.
Yeah.
I will tell you that as you all know, my oldest is an up and coming horror connoisseur, and I've been trying to find things that are not going to completely scar him for life. But as most of you genre nerds know, you have to be a little scarred.
Oh.
But we found this one was a little tamer for him, and he really enjoyed it, and he's ready to watch the next one.
Oh.
Although we have a long car ride coming up when we go to Disney for spring break, and I'm not
Probably
sure.
not a good
which
time.
No,
one
not the
to
long
watch
one.
before the
Not
second
the
one.
logs.
Yeah.
We'll talk more about the sequels coming up, but let's get into this one because there's a little bit to talk about. So for those of you that haven't seen Final Destination, maybe pause us and come back. But
No, at this
for
point,
everyone
you're
else,
just being lazy.
for everyone else, let's punch our tickets and jump into what was a very unique film at its time. You've got to think, as I said, we were post-Scream, so that first Scream had come out and slashers were the poo. Everyone wanted to be part of the slasher craze, And this was a big point of difference. So we'll discuss it more as we go along. But Final Destination, which originally started life as an X-Files episode spec script titled Flight 180, details the misadventures of one Alex Browning and his French class as they board an ill-fated flight for their spring break. Before takeoff, Alex has a premonition with the plane will face mechanical failure, leading to a mid-air explosion, killing everyone on board. Now, even before we start, I have to say, I did a rewatch of this, and the only way that you can rewatch this in Australia at the moment is if you have physical media. So I dug out my DVD copy
That's
of Final Destination and put it in. And as soon as the menu started, I went, I remember this because it's got all the flashing up things and like little bits and pieces. But even as the film starts, we're getting kind of little hints of what is to come with the weird close-ups of stuff in Alex's bedroom. It was very X-Filesy, the intro to the movie. And
well, babes, look, I'm going to this one real dry because I've watched this movie probably more than 20 times in my life. So I was like, do I need to do a rewatch? And I wanted to do a rewatch, but you know how life is. And I was like, nah, I can just go in.
I wasn't going to, but I'm glad I did because I forgot how much like tension ratcheting they were doing in this whole first part. And I've got to say, the thing that really stood out for me, even before we got too far into the film, was how lucky we were as teen and young people that were interested in horror, that we had the caliber of actors that we had when we were watching these films, because this first film cast are super, super, super strong. And I think with lesser actors, it would have been a B movie.
A shit movie.
Yeah, it would. It's a hard premise to sell that, death has become technically a sentient being and is coming after you. But the way that it's shot and the way that they acted out, like act and react, is super, super convincing. I think a big part of that comes down to Devon Sawa.
Oh, 100%. He was a man of his generation.
Yeah, no, I'd marry him, so I'm fine.
And just look at the glow up. Look at the glow up on Devon, and he's
still beautiful. Yeah. Still.
And he's still a horror. He's still.
You know what? You can all both back off, because if he's going to go for one of us, it's me.
Well, married, so go.
But we see Alex. We see Alex have all these little like moments of synchronicity, and that's a big thing in not only this movie but the whole franchise as it stands at the moment. Is these small moments of synchronicity jumping off points for what could be and what may be. The fact that his flight was the same as the departure time was the same as his birthday, that he heard John Denver playing while he was peeing, like it's all these little signs that we pass every day of our impending doom that we just don't notice because we're not paying attention. We're too busy trying to live life. But do you remember watching this first scene for the first time? Because when I watched it this time, I didn't realize that I was holding my breath for so long. I was like, when he got on the plane and everything started to happen, like as soon as they got on that plane and like have to be a real fucked up guard to take down this flight, a real fucked up guard. It's like, oh, this is not going to end well for anyone. And when the shit hits the fan and everything starts to shake and the mask drops down, I had a physical reaction to it. Even now, having seen this film so many times, I think it's because it is such a mundane thing. It's something that the majority of people have experienced, plane travel. And it's always that word. it's always that worst case scenario that you run through your mind at some point, but then to see it actually happen on screen, you're like, oh, okay, shit, that's not good. That is not good. And then, the side of the plane blows out, and those people get sucked out. They're trying to reach them. It's just, oh. And I forgot, the whole let's roast Alex's face as well of it all. It was like, that was a pretty graphic moment to see his face get melted on screen. I was like, oh, we're definitely going for a different vibe here.
They went for the extra.
They went straight, yeah. There was this was not even 20. I think it was like 20 minutes ish into the film, where a lot of films would still be, dropping their exposition, and it's like, okay, right.
Do you think if they had not made his death in that vision so horrific that maybe he would have been able to brush it off as like, I'm nervous, I just need to let this go? Like, you think if like he didn't like have his like face completely burned off, he probably would have been like, I just gotta shake this off, I'm nervous, everything's all right.
I don't know. It's weird though, because it makes you think of those moments where you do have deja vu and you're like, oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Why
let's go around the room real quick. Who hasn't been on a flight and thinks this could be when I die?
That was the we were coming from. Where were we going from? The flight that got delayed and we got rebooked.
Yeah, we sat in the terminal for 12.
Remember that remember the turbulence on that flight? I was like, oh no. And you and Buffy were way up the front and I was way up the back. I'm like, oh no, I'm going down.
But it's like the different mentalities too, because like, the last flight when I went over to the States, we had really bad turbulence, worse than that flight. It was like really bad, like throwing us around. And my kid was pretending it was a video game. She was like laying there like,
well, good for her. It makes her less nervous.
And she had a great time. She had the biggest smile on her face. I was like, you know what? I don't have to console her. The woman on the other side of us, because it was in a 3-seat row, bitch was crying. I was like, oh. I'm like, are you okay? And she's like, oh, no, we're done okay. And I'm like, okay. I was like, well, we can't do nothing right now. But like, it's like, let's just probably do a bit more what she's doing and just disassociate.
Go with it, because when you do put yourself in that situation, you go, I'm hurtling through the sky in a tin can.
Yeah.
Oh, shit can go wrong real bad, right?
So
real bad.
So when I came back from Europe, we were on a smaller plane. So it was from Paris to New Jersey. And I want you to keep in mind that my first flight ever was my initial flight to Chicago and then Denmark. So this is my first real experience flying. I'd never flown before. I'm 17 years old. I'm without my parents. I'm on this little tiny plane that was not like the bigger planes that I was on before that were nice and smooth, and there was turbulence. And I'm just like, And this is post 9/11, by the way. So this is 2004. So that's going through my mind too. And before we got on the plane, these guards with dogs and automatic weapons were running through the airport. And I'm just like, I may not make it home today.
That's funny though, because even when you look at the airport, this is a pre 9/11 airport as well. There's Hare Krishnas like wandering around. Remember when that used to happen? Like just random people would be allowed up to the gates and stuff, and you're like, oh, this is why it wasn't safe, right?
Why were they allowed though?
Because that's what it used to be like.
Some people were families and saying goodbye to their, other people like to watch planes. But my parents couldn't go to the gate with me, and my mom was melting down. She's like, "Oh God!" She's like, "You're not helping."
But the meltdown in the film, the meltdown in the film really happens when that tray table breaks and all fucking hell breaks loose on that plane, and they remove everyone in the aisle is removed. So there are Carter, which is played by Kerr Smith. Now we've got to remember. Now Kerr was going to be heading to Dawson's Creek, and playing
Can
everyone's
you
favorite game.
throw him up because he was a bit nummies.
He's gonna play everyone's favorite resident Cape Side gay, but this is totally against character. You know,
Who
Alex's
is, like,
best friend
nummies?
Todd, Carter's girlfriend Terry, Valerie, the teacher, Mrs. Luton, Valerie Luton, Billy Hitchcock, of course, Stifler, and Clear Rivers. So let's talk about Clear, because Ali Larter's character, Clear Rivers. Would you have gotten off the plane if you saw?
Yes. If someone
that
was
kind of
melting down
freak
like that, I would
Fuck
immediately
off.
got off. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we'd all
There's
get
even
to
any.
the
I
final
don't even
five.
care if they're just a bit crazy. I don't feel safe on the plane anymore that there's like people losing their shit on the plane. So I'm getting off.
No,
I
I'm
don't
off.
care.
I'm off.
I don't care if they're crazy. I don't care if they're psychic. I don't want to be on a plane with people that think terrible shit's gonna happen.
Yeah, no. I would spiral the rest of the time if I didn't get off. I'd be looking at my kids or looking at Kyle and going, I don't feel
Yeah.
I would just spiral
We're gonna
out of
die
control.
today, Sydney. Like,
So they're ejected from the plane, and the airline says only one of the teachers can stay with the rest of the students. So they take off as Alex and Carter fight again. The way that this is shot with all the action happening in the terminal, and we see Billy watching the plane take off, the plane explode, and then the sound wave hit was. It's still great. It's still because he reacts before anything happens, and then it all breaks loose. And the reaction shot. These guys are good actors. Every one of these survivors are good actors. Like the reaction to that plane exploding was like next level. You're like, oh shit, what's going on? Of course, after Alex's freak out about the plane exploding, 2 FBI agents are dispatched in order to try and piece together. Oh, bad joke. The where to and the what for
that
of
is
the
a
accent.
bad joke, Dales, because you
That is
could
a
never
bad
piece
joke.
it together.
No, it couldn't. So we get the waiting around and all of that kind of stuff as everyone's parents come to collect them, except for Clear's poor girl. Alex's parents have to take Clear home.
Why is she so shit? What happened to her? Like, that's one thing I've forgotten from my 20 watches.
Her parents just don't seem to give a shit if she's alive.
Oh, okay.
Basically, there's a massive plane explosion that your daughter possibly could have been on.
But if you don't give a shit about your kid, but you can pay for their excursion to another country,
to France, that's not cheap.
But that's their idea of caring for their kid. Like,
is
material
paying for that
things.
trip.
Yeah. Like you're
I still think it would have
fed,
been nice for them to go
your
pick her
friends.
up from the airport. No. Come on, mum and dad.
Hey, babe,
I
have you had a near-death experience?
So 39 days later, there is a memorial service for the victims of Flight 180, which is basically the rest of their class and their other teacher. And we see the survivors, reacting to each other. Alex is still, I guess, shell-shocked, but becomes obsessed with the why and the how that they all survived and got out of death's grips. And the whole thing has strained his relationship with everyone except for Clear. Basically, he's Alex's parents. Oh, no, not Alex, sorry. Todd's parents are not letting Alex speak to him. Even Mrs. Luton tells him to stay the fuck away. He scared the shit out of me. So he's like town pariah.
I can't imagine the survivor's guilt she must have because she told him to get on the plane.
Exactly.
So
that's amazing. Like just that little part where she goes, "Oh my god, I told him to get on the plane." Like she's a fantastic. You don't really see her in much. I was like,
what's funny is she's someone's in the cast's wife.
Yeah.
Glenn Morgan. She's Glenn Morgan's wife. Also, she was in an X-Files episode which this
Yeah.
was originally supposed to be an X-Files episode. So that probably came all together very nicely for them.
She was trying to make it.
Yeah,
She did a
she's
great job,
She's a
and
fantastic actress.
her performance is devastating because you can just see that she is just falling apart with guilt, that she thinks she caused this man death. And I would be scared of him too, honestly. But I don't know that I would try to shut him out. Like, I'd be a little scared. Like, I don't really want you to predict my death, but
yeah, Claire's the only one
he did it on purpose.
that's grateful. You know, Claire's the only one that's grateful. Like she's like, my name would have been on that plaque if it wasn't for you. So
right,
she gets it from a long time, and I don't know that straight away it's like romantic love. I think it's just some kind of gratitude / obsession with, you know, well, trauma bonding is a real thing, you know. That's a lot to go through.
And she was real pretty, and he was real pretty. So, like, you know,
she is.
But
pretty.
you know,
she's still
but
really
you know what? Looking back on it, they weren't Hollywood pretty. They were just normal.
I've noticed that about her casting. She's never the bombshell, but one movie she was. What was it? It was
always the love interest, though.
Yeah. I was obsessed. She was the office siren and obsessed with Beyonce. And it's like, yeah, she is hot. Of course she would be. I don't know why it took them so long to realize how attractive this was.
I always thought she was a very beautiful woman.
She's
so I don't know why Hollywood didn't
fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So this is where, again, Alex has now become kind of Unabomber-ish with his obsession with the explosion of Flight 180, and is tracking the pattern and realizing that, you know, sometimes they come back, they being death. Because while Alex is piecing all this together, we get our first death scene. How do we feel about Todd's death in his bathroom?
Was that the one? Wait. Is that the one where the laundry string went around your neck and stuff?
Yeah, the washing line. Yeah,
it was a lot.
It was.
It actually made me, that whole thing. Like, look, I'm always super anxious and super conscious anyway. But like any time, like I've had to be somewhere where they have like that pull across line, and like I make sure I don't die the same way he does. So yeah, it did trigger some shit in me.
I have some feelings. What kind of monster does not put a shower mat in your bathtub? That could have stopped this whole thing.
You also have, like, I think that shower curtains are the lowest thing in the world. So humanity has moved past the need for shower curtains.
But actually, Katie, I need to talk to you now. Remember when we stayed in that house in Salem? And they had a shower mat there. And I was like, you know what? I'm putting my kid in this bath and I'm going to let her have a bath in it. So I'm going to get everything out and whatever and give it a good scrub.
Yeah.
There was like actual like growing new civilization of bacteria under there.
See,
I have to wash your bath mats, kids.
You either have to replace
well, they obviously didn't.
One, and I wash it like maybe every couple weeks, but I wash it often enough where there is nothing growing under it.
Yeah.
Well, I was upset. I thought, you know, my child could end up with some kind of disease.
But this is the first instance where we find out.
Problem. Just saying.
We find out that death is a sneaky bitch, you know? And I like because in this first movie, death is amorphous. It is lingering on the outsides, whereas in the future sequels, it comes straight. Sometimes it comes straight at you in a very obvious way. In this first, it's like a trickle of water that leads to, you know, that slowly snakes its way to, like, you can see that even though it to the outside world will look like an accident, there's intention behind this randomness, which makes it so creepy. Like, watching it and the way it's shot, you see the water snaking through, like through the grout in the tiles, like it's alive, like it has a quest, and it's not just a random thing.
Now, remind me, is this the movie that Tony Todd says the creepy line?
Yes. Well, we're about to meet Tony Todd because
Oh, there you go.
They
I've
clear.
never been more afraid of
Alex,
Batman. Ever.
Alex stumbles onto the scene of Todd's death,
Ugh.
and Clear's already there. So we know that something is up with her already because he's seen it, but she feels it. That as she discusses later, she I don't see it like you see it.
Do you
but
feel
I
like
can
she's
feel when
psycho?
something's wrong.
Yeah,
No,
I feel like they have a connection.
She's empathic. Obviously, she picks up on the emotion and
She's got a
everything.
psycho
Whereas
connection.
he
A
is
psycho
seeing
connection. Much like
but-
Rexy.
Yeah, or an empath. Well,
yeah.
that's
So she's
just being a bitch.
yeah. It's a weird little symbiosis moment that he's the one that can see Death's design, but she's the one that can tell when everyone's in danger. It's cool, like, and it's probably worth a bit more of a thought. But they break into the home of the mortician William Bloodworth, obviously played by the late great iconic Tony Todd.
And
Now,
like I
if
said, I know this man was Candyman, but this is his scariest role. This man is.
if anyone was going to embody death, I think it was Tony. I think it is great that even though he is seen only in this film, he is part of every other film in this franchise.
I think he's
including
in other ones,
including
isn't
the
he?
new one.
Yes.
Yeah, no, he's voiced
Yeah.
or some part of it. So he's in every movie.
Yeah.
So, and even in the new reboot / wrinkle that's coming out, Tony Todd is involved apparently before he passed.
Oh, look, he was one of those actors that I feel probably deserved a little bit more recognition from that industry because I feel like everything he did better than what the budget would allow. Like he just nailed it.
It's the skill of performance. Like because of the genre, the genre actors are never going to get the recognition that they deserve. But you know that when you see Tony, it's probably going to be a pretty good movie, even if he's the best part of it.
Apparently, if your name is Tony, you're going to get snubbed in every movie you're in. Looking at you, Academy, Tony Collette deserved it.
But I also think that there's more of a story here because he knows Death's plan. Like he's a mortician, but he seems to know a lot about Death's plans and what disrupting Death's plan can do.
Well, that's his life, babes. He's seeing it every day.
It's like what happened to you that that like there was room for a prequel there. Like like a Tony Todd.
Absolutely. But if you're dealing with like deaths every day, like eventually, like I would think if I worked in that industry, I'd be thinking like, is there like you would just naturally want to try and put things together and be like, oh, is there like a correlation here and whatever? And he was like pretty old at the time, so like he'd seen a lot of that shit. So
not that old.
Yeah,
he was like in his 40s.
Yeah, he's our age, Luke.
Exactly. But I'm saying in my 40s, I'm putting a lot of shit together too about people's behavior, events that happen in my life. Like I would think for him, if he's always been doing that work, there'd be shit that would flag with you. You'd be like, ooh.
And then he's got that stone cold, deep voice, and
you don't want to mess with that bad mamma jamma.
Tony, look.
Can I just say too? I know he's passed, but I think he was a bit of a sexy man.
I think that's what worked for him in Candyman was that he was appealing.
Yeah, he was a bit of a sexy man.
Appealing his skin off to reveal bees. So now Clear and Alex are certain that there is a design to death, and we have to find what the pattern is.
You got to deliver the line though from Tony. Do you remember?
Do it. I did Death was bad man, but you don't want to mess with that man, Joe.
Yeah, Katie, do it.
There are no.
Put your tits out too.
No coincidence. No mishaps. No escape.
Yeah, Tony.
Yeah.
In death,
There are no accidents, no coincidences, no mishaps, and no escapes.
So Alex reasons that we are now finding victims dying in the order that they were supposed to die on the flight. And again, synchronicity fate always brings these characters together when death is going to strike. So Alex and Claire are talking, and then Carter and his girlfriend Terry drive past and see Alex and Claire. Carter is still, holding a big ass grudge and causes a scene. Billy
Looking
Hitchcock.
hot.
Billy, look, how good is the cast? How good is Sean William Scott playing totally against character in this movie? Because he will be forever known as Stifler, but it was nice to see him play a dork.
No, I actually think he's right on character for him. Like all you have to seriously, all you have to do is change the status, like the social status of this kid, and he's Stifler.
Right? Yeah.
Originally,
Your mum's no longer fuckable. You.
Originally, this character was meant to be the stereotypical overweight nerdy kid, but Sean's audition was so good that they're like, okay, we're gonna.
Can I just say though, he's also another one that I think is the most numbing thing that ever come out of my generation.
Sean William Scott,
still very attractive,
still very good looking.
Do we know what
so dummies
looks like right now? Did he age well too?
Kurt Smith is very good looking as well. He was in, I think he was in Riverdale, wasn't he?
I'm looking him up. Give me a minute.
Yeah, he was the principal in
Can you
Riverdale?
get Sean William Smith too? Whack his photo in too, Caddy. Come on.
Yeah, he's all right.
Sean William Scott's in a sitcom at the moment. He's part of a cast in a sitcom. So
yeah,
I believe
would have done anal for him. I'm just saying.
The new Kat Dennings one with Tim Allen. I think he's I'm pretty sure he's a supporting cast in that. But there's also talk of a new American Pie movie coming. So who knows?
Oh, Jesus Christ! Can we just let
that?
Look,
and he was a great actor too. I look. I know we're sidetracking here, but like American Pie 3, when he did his dance off with like in the gay club and stuff, I was like, this guy's funny. Like he's a fun guy, and you couldn't get that kind of chemistry if he wasn't having fun doing that scene. So I thought it was great.
And some things just translate so well on screen, whether it's quickly or like whether it's a well built out scene or this scene of Terry losing her shit, telling everyone to drop dead, and then getting collected by a fucking bus in front of everyone.
That was a lot, babes. That is my fear every day, because there's many times I'm losing my shit around a busy road. We've all been there, sometimes your kid will
that is
toss something out of the trolley or whatever, but you just lose your shit. And I'm like, there's so many times I've wanted to step out in the road and just be like, go, 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 go. And I should have been collected by something. And she reminded me that I need to be a responsible adult.
With the current state of my country, I'm thinking getting hit by a bus would be the better option at this point.
But see, even here, Miss Luton's reaction is what sells it, and she only goes, everyone gets blood splattered. She kind of just goes to water, and it's like, yeah, that's the right reaction to have because it happens so quickly. And it's very rare that we have watched a lot of horror movies, some good, some bad.
We have. It's
very rare that you get a movie that will do a slow build and a jump scare back to so close together that are both effective. I was like, I didn't see Terry I remember still to this day, and even when I was in the cinema, I didn't see Terry getting taken out by a bus.
I thought she was going to be one of the girls that had the long drawn out death scene because she was the pretty girl.
Yeah,
and she was just fucking bye.
I could have seen her having a death like a tanning bed scene, honestly.
Yeah.
But something like that.
I agree.
Drawn out. Alex trying to put it together. You can see, he sees the premonition of the bus, but we're not paying attention. We're not paying attention, and the movie's not paying attention. It's really well shot. Like, we're not focusing on where a bus is in the
Are
background.
you
We're
saying
just
it's clever
oh,
directing?
why? It's clever writing, clever everything. Because we're not focusing on the world around us. We're still focusing on the emotion and not knowing that in the background, death is coming on the number 2 bus and taking it out. So
Fucking bye,
after
girl.
what? The second death in the matter of 2 days, Alex is watching a news report about the cause of the explosion, and his fears and theories are literally confirmed when it shows the track of the explosion hitting every seat that the survivors were due to sit in, which leads him to surmise correctly that Ms. Luton is Death's next intended victim. Now, this one was played out. This one was nasty, man. Like, I really like this character, and Death just wanted to fuck around with her. She was shaken to the core, freaked out about having the school mug, and then just went, you know what, I'll do what everyone did in the late 90s, early 2000s. I'll drink vodka straight from the freezer just to make my life better. Cup breaks,
Girl.
vodka leaks into her large desktop computer, which then, freaks out. Screen explodes. Glass in neck, freaking out. Fire starts. Fire
Technology's not your
spreads.
friend.
Like, she tries to stem the bleeding. Oh no, my bloody dish towel is caught on not one knife, but a whole knife block, and she gets impaled.
This was too much.
It was intense. Poor Mrs. Luton.
They fucked her up real bad.
And
Truly.
I think the sad part is she was like ready to leave. She was moving out of town. She could have gotten away. She was gone, but it proves when death wants you, it'll take you, and it will take you in the most fucking vicious way possible. I think
that bitch had no chance. Like, it was too much.
At least with Terry,
I feel that one was too much. Like, you know what? I would have stayed on the plane if I was her. I'd be like, you know what? I'm just good.
But
Again,
it's interesting.
All of this sounds better than the current state of my country.
But this is another thing. We've had Todd's death, which, was insidious and sneaky, but looked like an accident. Terry's death, which was so quick that it could have been an accident. This one was so drawn out, and it toyed with her. It was cat and mouse. It kind of showed that whatever death is in this universe, in this idea, it has, some
It's Gypsy Rose
intention. It wanted her to feel fear. It wanted her to feel pain. It wanted her to know she was going to die. And as the house burns around her, Alex comes in. But this is kind of where you see Death trying to fuck with Alex too, because he tries to help her by taking the knife out.
And now he's got his fingerprints on the knife.
Now his fingerprints are on the knife. The heat of the explosion, which it oxidizes the blood, so his shoe prints, his fingerprints are all there. It looks like Alex is responsible.
He's fucked.
It's like,
right,
so death is now becoming. It's getting a personification. It's becoming a character, a tangible character that's working against our lead, which is, again, like something that we don't see or haven't seen in movies up until this point in modern horror, like in the modern day horror. It's pretty cool. Again, Billy Hitchcock just keeps falling over or getting hit on that bike. It's just, I thought for sure he's just like, hey, Alex, go. Oh, shit.
I'm kind of curious how the movie would have been different if they had focused a little more on the fact that Death pretty much framed Alex, because they kind of blow it off.
This is, for me, where it kind of gets a little bit muddled, where they're trying to shoehorn the FBI agents in a bit too much. Like, I think if they just would have went with trying to break Death's plan, it might have been a little bit cleaner. But it was an extra idea that maybe we didn't need there, because those characters are so superfluous, and they were never going to be a death of, a victim of death. So Yeah,
No, I
it
agree
was
with you.
really, yeah.
It was.
I don't know.
It needed to go one way or the other. It didn't need like the little mix of both. It was
Yeah.
confusing.
But all these events keep throwing these people together, and the high stakes, high emotion always leads to something else. They end up driving around and discuss, who's next.
Mhm.
And it turns out to be Carter, one of the people who I wouldn't trust to begin with, but he goes a little bit Paul Walker Fast and the Furious and
Ooh,
decides, he's going to take death on his own terms. I again, this is a big red herring that we're going to see Carter's death as the car gets stuck on the train tracks and everyone peels out except for Carter, whose seatbelt jams. Alex is the hero, he goes to save him, and he manages to last minute pull him from the car. Not before Billy loses his absolute mind. Stay with me, you're next, you're dead. And a piece of shrapnel decapitates him, but not decapitates him like from the neck. It cuts him off at the mouth.
I kind of
So
enjoyed
his
that.
bottom jaw is still. It's kind of
happens,
poetic.
babes. Look,
But it's kind of poetic because his voice is so prominent in that scene. He's like screaming, freaking out, and it's like, "Shut up!" Literally,
Right?
you can't talk anymore.
I really. That was just.
It was like death saying, "Shut the fuck
Yeah,
up,
shut the
It
fuck
was,
up.
and the effects for the time were.
motherfucker."
Dude, this is how you do CGI just right.
It
Because I
looks
didn't-
like
Because it's not overplayed. It's not over it doesn't look fake. It looks very, very clean. It looks good. This is how you do it. This is how you dabble in practical effects and CGI.
And when it's not an all dominating force, you can get away with it. You can get away with little moments like that. But I'm sure some of that would be practical effects because we
absolutely.
do see that corpse there.
Yeah,
Billy's
for
head
sure.
rolls away. It's like, bye, Billy.
Just terrible.
but there are some movies of this time that you go back and watch it now, like, wow, why was I impressed with that back then? Because this is terrible. This movie.
This holds up. Even the effects, like even the plane crash effects,
yeah,
all holds up because a lot of it was real effects.
They reused it again in the new film.
They just interspersed it,
stoked for this movie.
So
So-
we'll talk about that later.
We'll get there. We'll get there. So this is where Death's design gets a little whoopsie doo doo because Alex intervened and saved Carter. So that means Death skipped someone.
Yeah,
And it's coming for the next person.
Yeah.
Which is
Never.
Alex. Which is Alex. Or he's convinced it's him. So he goes full Unabomber and fortifies a cabin. And I like seeing like those little instances where he's like, rusty fishhook, you're gonna give me tetanus. And it's like the paranoia is real. And imagine going through this. The paranoia would be real. You'd be like, what is gonna kill me now? Because anything and everything.
Everyone else is dead after the crash. You would hope that you would be paranoid, like all very just
anything and everything is like coming to kill you. And this is where we have her. We post a little romantic scene with Claire and Alex as well, which we didn't talk too much about. But we need to hold on to that because there's a little bit of a discussion to be had at the end of this review about deleted scenes and the intention behind it, etc., etc., etc. So Claire and Alex have been separated when he realizes that he tricked Death's design to begin with because he changed his original seat on the plane.
Yep.
So he would not be the next victim. The next victim would be Claire. Now, this we've talked a lot about the amorphous quality of the lingering death. This is, I think, Death got the shits basically and went, all right, I'm coming, because this whole electric dream of a nightmare at the end of the film is intense. Like seeing the power lines come down and her getting trapped in the car, and then the garage door thing like slamming through, trying to impale her. Death has the shits, and Alex is coming to save the day, but the FBI is on his tail as well. So it's like
Yeah,
a
this
bit of
movie
cat
became a
mouse.
lot, didn't it?
It did.
When you think about it, this movie's only about an hour and a half long. There is a lot of story and a lot of action crammed into it. And I think, as I said, they did remove some subplots to make it flow a little bit smoother, but maybe the FBI subplot could have been mixed down as well and it would have been a lot smoother.
Or if they
But-
had at least Scully and Mulder. Or
Yeah. So
Speaking of fine men, sorry,
don't, he's a sex addict.
Alex,
I'm okay with
Alex finally, like,
Me
Claire's
too.
been a good girl. She saved her dog. You know, we can't have the dog being electrocuted.
No, we can't.
But in her metal-filled backyard, where things could be flying around at every second, full of sculpture, we end up getting a gasoline leak as well. They like the fire effects in this movie. I didn't realize how much fire was in this movie until I rewatched it again. So Alex makes the decision to save Clear by essentially killing himself and grabbing the live wire. So she is able to get out of the car. Alex is, of course, thrown away from the massive jolt.
Beautiful
But
Devon Sawa with these beautiful buns.
He is able to be revived,
Oh,
but we don't
beautiful.
realize that. Now, this is where we need to stop, because originally, and it is shot and it is out there, you can see the original ending intended for the movie. Do you guys know about the original ending for this?
Yes.
No, I don't. I do have like the Blu-ray and stuff.
So, Katie, do you want to tell the folks a little bit about the ending and why it wasn't used?
Well, depending on, are we talking about Clear and Alex's relationship? Is that
Yes,
what
we're
We're talking about everything, Katie.
Okay, so
and
it's a little
Your
more
tits
clear that
out
they
too.
were very much romantically involved, and there is a love child named
Yes.
Alex.
Claire became pregnant after their little rendezvous on the beach and gave birth to a baby Alex, new life. And there was a whole thing about new life beating death. And it was interesting. And there was a bit of a scene between whoa,
Will you stop this?
I don't know. There's a scene between Claire and Carter where he is engraving the names of the people that died on the bottom of the statue, and it was meant to have a hopeful, fluttery, beautiful ending.
Oh,
But it tested badly
As it should.
with audiences. They were like, no, more death, more destruction, more horror. So we get 6 months later, we see Claire, Carter, and Alex, all with new hair, getting off the plane and finally
So
making
cute.
their way to France to honor the trip and their fallen compatriots. But while they're discussing the whole shebang of Death's curse, Alex revealed that Death never skipped him because technically he died saving Clear. He was revived. And Alex starts to see patterns again, starts to see little signs. So fearing that death is coming for him, Alex tries to leave Claire and Carter, but shit gets very real. When, a bus crashes into a sign and a giant neon sign swings towards Alex, only for him to be saved by Carter at the very last second. Upsetting Death's design one last time until Carter questions, well, who is Death coming for next? As the sign swings back towards him and we cut to our end credits.
Goodbye, mate.
Goodbye.
But
So
we don't know that. It's
we
very
don't know
open-ended.
that. At the moment, it was left open. And I think because, as we said, we are in a post-Scream world where every hit, teen horror got a sequel. Everything got a sequel.
But did we
And
ever find out if Carter actually died in that accident, or
well,
was it
in
Yeah,
the
he did.
recap, in the recap, it says Carter was killed. And I think Clear
Okay.
does mention it
okay?
in Final
in part
Destination
2.
2.
I'll have to
So-
rewatch that too.
Yeah, I think
He
I'm gonna have
died.
to rewatch part 2, and then I'll probably end up rewatch part 3.
And Devon Sawa
Yeah.
didn't want to do part 2 because he was really hot. And
No, there was reason he didn't want to return. So
he was so
if we ever
cute.
get
That's
if
why.
we ever get to it, we'll talk to him about it. So
Yeah.
from a pretty modest budget of $23 million, this movie went on to do $112.9 million. This was I remember the reaction to this movie
Mm.
and people being like really. It was one of those ones that I think got better with word of mouth, and especially when it made
Yeah.
its way to.
It was a
physical
little bit of a
media.
slow burn for him at first because,
Yeah.
no one wanted to see horror movies around then too.
Well,
Like,
it was.
horror movies have always been, but
But this
I
was
think
the new.
as soon
This
as
was
there's
our
word
new
of mouth
wave.
about one, they would.
This was new wave. So it's like Scream had come out, and all these teen horror
But Scream
things were
suffered
coming
from
out.
the same thing too. No one wanted to see Scream until everyone was like, "Oh, it's a really good movie."
Yeah, but this
And
is
then-
2000. This is post Scream. This is.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, it's never a draw card for a horror movie. Except
I
if
don't
you're a horror
know.
fan, until
I
everyone
think
says it's a great film.
but we were in that everyone is watching anything horror scene because we
There's
remember
a
how many
re-
Scream knockoffs there were and all that, like all those kind of. Everyone had a
There's a
mask.
reason
in
Leave
it.
Jennifer
they,
Love Hewitt
Scream
alone.
like revived the genre.
Yeah,
It's
and this
absolutely
was-
the reason they're saying that.
This was one of the ones that kind of started to twist the frame. This is before, so this is kind of like, let's cast our minds back. This is 2000, so this is even pre found footage stuff. Found footage would be
What
the-
pre
and
Blair
the Ja-
Witch?
the
No,
Japanese
Blair
remake.
Witch-
Blair Witch was
99.
99, Bub.
I know, but what I'm saying is there wasn't the copycat films yet. We had been
True.
through Blair Witch and everything wasn't found footage. This was a twist in a different direction that no one else really followed this except this franchise. You know what I mean? It's weird that there was just like I think that they locked it down and went, this is what we're gonna do. And do you guys know who they originally wanted?
No, we don't.
Who the writer originally envisioned for the lead cast?
Who?
What, instead of
I don't
Devon and Ali?
Instead of Devon and Ali Larter?
Who?
Toby Maguire and Kirsten Dunst.
Ew,
Ugh.
that wouldn't have worked.
Who would you?
I
Okay,
know.
let's go around the room. If you had
And then
to sleep
also,
with
wait,
either, who would
one
you
more second.
rather?
Hold
One
on,
more
he's not
second,
done.
because the other name that got thrown around for Clear Rivers was Jessica Biel.
Ew,
Oh, Jessie's okay,
No,
but
no.
she was.
I'm a hater.
I think
Sorry.
she had things to do. She had her work to do in her own thing. And
For Seventh
I think
Heaven.
no. When I will die on the hill that I think she was one of the best things about that Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake.
Mm.
And
She
it
was
showed-
great. She was.
She had
fabulous.
chops. She had chops in that
Yeah,
movie.
she's a
and
good slasher girl.
someone that is. Yeah.
Katie, who would you
Yeah.
rather sleep with, Devon Sawa or Toby?
Oh, Devin, 100%.
Yeah, same.
I'm not
no
a
one's,
Toby fan,
no
sorry.
one's choosing Toby Maguire.
No one's
Yeah.
choosing Toby.
No
No
one's choosing
condoms
Toby
either,
Maguire.
too.
No.
Like, you know.
No
And I
one's
don't think
choosing
Kirsten
Toby.
Dunst is. I know she has dramatic chops. I know she does. I know she.
I don't
can
think she
do
would
it.
have horror chops though.
I don't think she has horror chops. No, and I don't.
Yeah, no, I don't think she does
I don't
either.
think Toby really does.
I think
either.
she's more a
Ripley agrees.
comedic, dramatic actress.
Ripley agrees.
So this movie was number 3 at the box office on its opening weekend, behind two other movies. Do you want to hear what they were?
I do.
Yes,
Erin Brockovich
fair.
and Mission to Mars.
I don't
Oh, that
remember
was
Mission to
shit.
Mars, but I
I
did
don't
enjoy
remember
Aaron
Mission to
Brockovich.
Mars, so it's
Mission
like,
to
okay.
Mars was like one of those apocalyptic movies, I think, wasn't it?
I don't know. I don't think I've
Yeah.
ever seen it.
Anyway, it should have been Final Destination at least. I'll get Aaron Brockovich because it was just huge at its
It
time.
was great. It was a great movie.
But
Yeah.
it puts it in a good place, like in your mind too. It's like, oh wow, okay. There was a whole different. It was a different world when Aaron Brockovich was like, you know, the go-to dramatic.
And
movie
can I
of
just
the
say, I
world.
don't think Julia Roberts really played Aaron Brockovich. I think she just played an angry Julia Roberts, but that'll be another review.
I thought, well, not knowing the real Aaron Brockovich, I can't really say one way or another, but Aaron Brockovich apparently enjoyed her performance. So
Oh, of course she did, because, it was Julia Roberts portraying her. Why would you say anything else?
but there are
I
other.
just remember how all-encompassing.
If Julia Roberts portrayed me going to the toilet, I'd be like, you know what? It's the fucking best thing I've ever seen.
Well,
Who
no,
would say
I don't think
anything
that's
else?
true at all. I think if it was a bad portrayal of me, no matter who it was, I would have said you got that all wrong.
You would have got lots of
So,
money. You would have been told to shut up.
After this one, we had to wait a little while. Like they were churning out pretty, regular sequels back in the day.
When did
But
the next one come out?
the Final Destination movies came out in 3-year increments. So Final Destination, the first one was released in March 17th, 2000. Final Destination 2 wasn't released until January 31st, 2003.
Wow.
Yeah. So, of course, that did for
it
highway
feels like
travel.
when we look back, hey, Steve and Katie, like it feels like it was like, the week after, like when we look back.
Yeah.
Like,
Do you think I just remember waiting for some sequels, like we didn't wait super long for Scream 2 and the excitement was there straight away.
Yeah.
This was
I dragged my mum to Scream 2. I was too young to get in.
The same with I Know What You Did Last Summer. Like I remember wanting to see it, and it hinted that there was going to be a sequel. But this one had a healthy weight to it, and it kind of even made me want to see it more. So the second movie obviously did, as I said, did for highway travel what the first did for,
I mean, raise your hand here if every time you get stuck behind a truck with all those big logs, you still get nervous about it.
100%. There's a road that I always try. There's a certain road near my house that always has those log trucks on it.
I pull over.
I
what?
as fast as I can.
They can win the race today. No, I let them go. Like, you know what?
Then Final Destination 3 wasn't released until February 10th, 2006.
Oh, just trying to think of that one.
That roller coaster. No, I was
the roller coaster one, babe.
I was not okay with the roller coaster.
I'm trying to think of it.
Roller coaster, babe.
No, I know, but I'm trying to think of the other deaths in there to really identify it. I'll have to rewatch that one. The second one sticks out
too, dolls. Yeah, it's
actually
a pretty good film. That's the one with the sunbeds.
The third one. The third one's sunbed deaths. I'm pretty sure.
Because that's that one.
Because the fourth film titled The Final Destination, which I suppose they were thinking would be the destination, was released August 28th, 2009. That was lawnmower pebble death, right?
Oh, that's
I'm looking through the stuff right now.
Everyone's always thought about getting killed by their lawnmower.
And then, of course, we had Final Destination 5, released August 12th, 2011. So that was a quick little back-to-back. Bit of a spoil. Did you guys saw?
Were probably pretty weak, but the fifth one,
I've seen them all, but you know what? After the first three or so, they kind of blend until that last one when it went back to the first one.
Right.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
And
I thought that was a very interesting way of making a sequel relevant in its franchise by making it a prequel but disguising it as a sequel, and you don't realize until you go, wait, why are they talking on that kind of phone?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we don't
they
pay
get
that
on the
much attention.
They get on the
during
flight,
movies.
and it is Flight 180 Vol Air. So we actually see Alex. We see all of the first movie's cast. And I thought that was really smart, and it really made me enjoy that fifth movie a little bit more than I should have. I think because
Yeah, no, I was the same. I was like, you know what? That took me by surprise, and I appreciate it because now I get it. Like I put it all together now in hindsight, and I'm like, oh, okay, it makes sense why they're using all this weird retro shit and whatever. And it was a clever little twist because we didn't see it coming because it wasn't hinted at that boldly. It was just a
I
little
do liken it though.
gotcha.
I do liken this franchise a little bit to Friday the 13th, where after a certain sequel, they do all bleed in together, and
Yeah.
you just remember
Yeah.
deaths. You know,
You know,
you just
there are
Yeah.
a few franchises that
Melissa.
I'll watch no matter what. And Final Destination is one of them, the other being Scream, obviously. And then the Hatchet franchise, which I don't think we've covered yet.
no, we haven't
Not
done
of
that shit. Maybe one day. Yeah, never know.
Okay.
So Tony Todd said in 2011 that if Final Destination 5 was a success at the box office, they were actually going to film 2 sequels back to back to, close out and really give it a big farewell.
Yeah.
But this last installment has been sitting and waiting and doing all that kind of stuff, but it's here in May. We are getting
May
Final
16th.
Destinations
I'm ready.
Bloodlines.
I'm ready.
Now, this is going to kind of take, from what I understand, is going to kind of twist the formula on its head a little bit, because it's about a college student experiencing recurring nightmares that track her family. So instead of it being a random group of people, death is coming for one family generationally.
Does this mean we also have to go back and review all of them until the release?
We don't have
As
to,
many as we
but
can.
I mean, that's
we
fine
don't
with
have
me.
to.
I think
You
I'm
can
happy
let us
to.
know, folks.
No,
If
I'm
you
cool
wanna-
to.
If you guys want us to jump into a car and hit the freeway and,
I
you
mean,
know,
I
Get
asked
some
that we
logs
wait.
dropped on us.
I asked that we
You
wait
know.
till after I get back.
I've had it happen before, but not in that context. But
I'm
All right.
looking at the cast of the new movie, and I don't know any of the names, but that's not necessarily a bad
that's
thing.
not necessarily a bad thing.
Not
for
necessarily a
for
bad
a soft reboot, I think you would have to go with people that aren't necessarily well known, because you get to a certain amount of celebrity and people go for the name as opposed to the story.
Okay, this guy's had
So-
some.
they need
This guy's
Sarah
been in
Michelle
I have to
Gellar.
ask my lovely friends,
Yes,
how
friend.
many exploding planes out of 5 do we give Final
Who are you going
Destination?
for first?
You can go first, Luke. Out
I
of 5.
actually give Final Destination 4.5 exploding planes out of 5 because you know what? I think it was something that did a lot for its time. I felt like it was like a really, it was so innovative. It was like a great experience. Like I remember watching as a young person and thinking like, what the heck is this movie? And people went to get on a plane and got off because they didn't want to blow up, and now they're all going to die anyway. Like it just was a lot, and I loved it. I thought it was just brilliant. It wasn't a slasher, but it was great use of just horror concepts and the fact that sometimes, and we've all got that little niggling belief in the back. It's like, when's my time?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. My lovely Katie, what do you think?
I'm gonna have to, agree with Luke and do the 4.5 out of 5. I think, as most of you know, I'm a real slut for practical effects, and the better they're done, the better it is. I think this movie was brave for trying something new when we're in a revival of slasher films, and this broke the mold. I think everything is really clean. I think the story could use a little work, but not so much that it deters from the enjoyment of the movie. I love Devon Sawa. I think they were right to keep him in the casting. I I don't think they could have found anyone better for that role.
Great ass.
And especially when it's years later, 25 years later, and this movie still holds up. I think that speaks to the quality of the film.
Yeah, definitely. I'm going to go 4. I think because I did a rewatch recently, I watched it. I kind of had my nostalgia, but watched it with a bit more knowledge, a few more years under my belt. They could have tightened the story up a little bit. I don't know that the FBI stuff was needed, and we could have spent more time with the characters. But for a movie to still resonate and still, all you have to say is Final Destination, and people react. For it to still have that effect 25 years later means that they did something right. So. Yeah, I'm really glad I actually did a rewatch of it because I wasn't going to do it, but I happily put my media in, my home media, and even watching a DVD menu and seeing being of that.
Give us
time,
a score,
really,
babes.
Yeah, I did. I said 4.
He did. He said 4.
Oh, 4.
4.
Sorry, I was
4.
waiting for it. I missed.
That's okay. So yeah, we may hit the freeway again, but we want to know if you want us to keep going towards our Final Destination. But coming up very soon, we're going to be coming soon. We're going to be checking back into Fear Street. So if you haven't watched our Fear Street saga reviews, probably start watching it now because in May, along with Final Destination Bloodlines, we are getting Fear Street Prom Queen. So it's going to be a big, murderous May. I would like to thank my lovely co-hosts for joining us tonight. Thank you for watching Uncensored Horror, and make sure you check your ticket because you never know when death is coming for you. Keep it creepy, folks.
Then you can just drop fucking dead.